Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Klevit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, optimize, and implement processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is Rania Sedhom. Hi, Rania.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm fine, and I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
You are very, very welcome. And I'm excited about today's conversation because we are going to talk about a subject that, maybe a lot of maybe entrepreneurs or business owners are not really, it's not top of mind. It's not sales, it's not marketing, it's legal counsel, which is very important. And the relationship with your lawyer or having a lawyer is very important, but it's something that people tend to put off, they basically address it when there is an emergency usually, right? Or they will call a lawyer when everything is on fire. But prevention is so important, and having that relationship established is so important. And a lawyer should be part of your trusted advisors that you surround yourself. And that's what we're going to be talking about. So first of all, I'm going to start with your bio, and then we're going to get into our conversation. So Rania, you founded Sedhom Law Group 10 years ago. So you're an entrepreneur yourself.
Yes.
And you wanted to level the playing field for traditionally underrepresented business owners and founders, which is really true, right? So your mantra is knowledge is power. I love that.
Uh-huh.
Finesse propels you forward, and deal making grows empires. So that's amazing. That's absolutely incredible.
Thank
you. Companies who want an attorney who is more like a business partner than a fireman may consider you, right? The Sedhom Law Group. Attorneys come to a place of know rather than no, like a play on word, like no, K-N-O-W, as opposed to no, right? N-O. And
yes.
Yeah, and it's really true because, as entrepreneurs, we need to surround ourselves with trusted advisors. We can't do everything ourselves. And we have to have partners, although you don't give equity, but the partnership, it's really, that's why I tell my clients too, we want to partner with you. We're not going to take part of your equity, but it's a partnership because your growth, your success, I'm so invested in it that I feel like we are definitely partners in it and we are part of it. So I definitely like this approach. So, but
Thank
before,
you.
I always like to hear about my guests and our listeners. I'm sure very curious about you. So give us a little bit more of the story of who you are. Why did you become a lawyer? A little bit of flavor of you and what made you found your own law group, and a little bit more about it.
Okay, sure. Well, why did I want to become a lawyer? I'm not exactly 100% sure like what moment I decided, but I do know when I immigrated to this country, I learned a lot of English by watching TV. So while other kids were told stop watching so much TV, I was told keep watching TV so I can hear the language, how it's supposed to be pronounced, as opposed to, with thick accents like those who are surrounding me. And as I was watching TV, I noticed that I really loved all of the law programs for whatever reason. It didn't matter if it was like, a fake courtroom drama or actual courtroom drama. It didn't matter. I just knew you couldn't talk to me. When those shows were on, I was so fascinated. And then I realized quickly that when we immigrated here, that knowledge was power. I mean, it was just so hard to find information. The internet was not yet available to us. I'm dating myself a little bit, but it is what it is.
I was going to ask you if one of the shows was LA Law, which kind of like, and his life is really like LA Law.
Yes, I did watch LA Law, so now you're dating me even further, but that's okay.
That's fine. We're dating both of us. I mean, I used to watch it too.
Yeah.
And that's the way I learned English too, is by watching those shows. And I loved LA Law as well. So that's cool.
It really did help to watch TV. It always fascinates people, but in any event, I realized that it was so hard to find information, but once you had the information, the system really was easier to navigate. And so I just read voraciously and, loved understanding what the rules were and why we had these rules and how you can use them. And I just always had the entrepreneurial spirit. So becoming an entrepreneur was inevitable. But I think what really drove that decision was the way that most law firms were running. Things have changed now, but when I was a younger whippersnapper attorney, I just felt that the practice of law was not really aligned with business. I mean, you charge by the hour, you have junior people who know very little. I was one of those people, and we're charged at a lower rate, but we take 4 times as long to do something that the senior person can do, and that person charges a lot more. And then you just spend so much time discussing invoices. And I thought there was a better way, not only from a practical perspective, but also to help entrepreneurs and companies. I want them to take my call and I want them to listen to my advice. I don't want them to worry about the cost. And that's why in this model that I've created, we charge a flat monthly fee for unlimited transactional support in the area or areas of practice to which we agree. So unless you're getting sued, want to sue somebody, or are in the middle of some kind of audit by the Department of Labor, you know exactly what you'll be paying your attorney. And it really releases the confines of the more traditional lawyer-client relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell me, what are some of the things that an entrepreneur should look at or areas to address with partnering with a lawyer?
Well, I am a firm believer of like hires like. And what I mean by that is, how do you like to work? Are you an individual who wants someone to always be available, always on, be able to just pick up the phone or shoot an email and get not an immediate response, but a very close in time response? Because sometimes immediate doesn't really work, right? I can be in court, which means I can't take your call, or whatnot. Are you the kind of person who likes to work with somebody who's going to give you every possibility imaginable? Or do you just want practical advice because your time is limited? What kind of personality do you want in your lawyer? Do you want someone who's always aggressive regardless of the situation? Do you want somebody who is going to be mild-mannered and only become aggressive when you want them to be? All of these things you should assess because it's a very personal relationship. And you want to be as happy as possible in that relationship. So personality is key. The way the person works is also key. So for example, you can call me, email me, or text me. Some individuals prefer to only communicate in one way over another way. So, make a list of what's important to you in the way someone works and in the personality. Just like you have a customer avatar, you should also have an attorney avatar, and then ask the attorney questions that are of importance to you, not only about your issue, right, but about you as an individual, because
I think,
my
Rania, I
clients
think this is a
vary.
great advice. It's actually
Thank
like
you.
I'm thinking it should also go not just for the lawyer, but any trusted advisor that you have. If
Definitely.
you actually have that, that's kind of like a process on how to choose your trusted advisors. What
Yes.
would be some of the questions that you will ask that you think or that you would love to be asked by, let's say I'm a potential client of yours. What do you think I should ask you in order for me to make a determination that we are a good fit?
Well, I like to talk to people about their decision-making process because all day we're making decisions, whether they're tiny decisions about which route to take or which train to take, or large decisions about whether or not to partner with another company or whatever it is. So I think the way individuals make decisions is so important. So for me personally, I like to know what outcome the client is looking for. I like to begin with the end in mind because it helps me plot a strategic path for my client. So is that how you like to think, or instead do you like to make decisions as you go? So you assess each step and sort of pivot and change, or do you like to plan things out? So I think that's something that's pretty important because a lot of lawyers, because we're all people, right? We have different personalities. Some of them may be reactive. You'll say something, they immediately have something to say, a reaction to what you're saying. And some want to listen to everything first and then ask you some questions. So, what's your communication style? Please ask me mine. It's really important.
Absolutely. What else? Any other questions you suggest that that people should ask before hiring a trusted advisor?
I think that you should ask them how they provide information that you may not want to hear. What is their method? How blunt are they, and how short-tempered are they when they're delivering the advice? Because oftentimes people will ask us for advice as attorneys and they won't listen to the advice, which is, fine, it's your choice, but then bad things may happen. And so what happens to us as a human being, as the attorney, when that occurs? What is it that we're going to tell you? I told you so, or let's forget about that and move forward and figure out what to do now. Again, how do they communicate information you may not want to hear to you?
I think it's very smart. Very smart. Okay, so we talked about what is important in a trusted advisor, especially in a lawyer. Now,
Yes.
I want to talk about specifics. You work with so many entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
We have entrepreneurs that are listening to us right now and they go, well, why would I need a lawyer? I'm not being sued, right? Or why am I need a lawyer? I don't need to, I didn't get a letter from whomever, whatever authority. By the way,
Right.
I just want to let you know, I'm digressing, but it's relating. I did a
Sure.
survey and I asked entrepreneurs, what do they like most about being a business owner? What do they
Uh-huh.
find the most desirable? And you know what's the number one thing that they said?
No, please tell me.
Freedom.
Okay.
That's what they find the most desirable is freedom, ability to make their own decisions, ability to be creative, and ability to control their own destiny. Now, I asked also, what do you find the most undesirable about being a business owner? And the number one thing is it's that burden of responsibility, being responsible for so many families because of their employees, right? Personnel issues, but then also dealing with legal issues and, paperwork, government agencies, etc.
Right.
So that is definitely something that business owners find undesirable. So you definitely bring a solution to that thing that is undesirable so they can have more freedom. So now it's one thing to wait for that letter to get that you are being audited, or that, you owe this money, but you really don't, or that you didn't, there was this obscure law that you didn't know about, or maybe not so obscure, but you never heard about it and you didn't comply, etc. Right? So we can have all
Yes.
of that.
Sure.
But I always believe in being proactive, and so do you. That's why you created your model, right? You have the model so people are actually, they know you. There already is an established relationship. So if something happens, you don't have to learn all about that business. You know exactly what to do. But you also have that you're a trusted advisor, meaning you are advising, and they come for you to advise during the regular course of doing business, right? So tell us, what are the areas that you feel that entrepreneurs should actually partner with a lawyer in order to get advice on a regular basis, or consult a lawyer on a regular basis so they can have somebody like you as a partner?
Thanks for asking me that question. I really appreciate it. Well, before I answer it, I just want to say we do help entrepreneurs with their freedom. We actually allow entrepreneurs to have more freedom, not just from a compliance perspective, but from a strategy perspective. I mean, what would be great is to call my firm or any firm with whom you want to work, of course, to discuss your plans, right? So you've charted your course and maybe you're reacting now to the economy, or you're reacting to a new opportunity. Maybe there's a new technology, AI, everyone's talking about that. Whatever it is, it would be beneficial to speak with your trusted attorney advisor to talk about what are some of the advantages or disadvantages of the decision that you're making today. And maybe it'll give you more freedom to grow even more, because we love helping companies grow. I would say the areas of practice that take up the most of our time would be people management, so employment issues, all day, every day, practically. And then also business, whether it's, a basic contract or maybe there's a collaboration in the fashion space or food and beverage space. This happens all the time, using influencers, using AI again for marketing. And of course, in this economy, fundraising, that's a big one. I would say those three areas are top of mind, but other ones that are equally important are intellectual property. It's very important that you protect, your trade secrets and your logo and other intellectual property that your company owns.
Absolutely, those are definitely areas. You definitely interview on other podcasts. I listen to your interviews. You definitely have very interesting stories. Tell us a story that shows how you actually help an entrepreneur basically save them because they had a relationship with you.
Well, everything is relationship driven. Even your negotiation, it's relationship driven. And it doesn't mean that I have to know opposing counsel. Oftentimes I don't. Actually, most times I don't, because there are so many attorneys. It's very hard to keep track of everybody. But it's still a relationship. It's how you communicate and what is your approach to negotiations. So oftentimes people believe incorrectly that because they're small, they can't get a larger institution or a larger company to act in a way that's beneficial to them. But that's not really true. It's a give and take. So in a contract, there may be whatever, I don't know, 30 pages, but maybe there are 6 provisions that really relate to like time or money. And so you can sort of increase, one benefit to you, whichever one's most important to you, by giving the other side something that they would benefit from. And you're not sacrificing anything. You're just moving the chips around so you have a little bit of leverage. So for example, we were working with a company, and the company is small. It's very small, right? It's sort of like the size of my company, less than 5 people. I mean, nobody cares about us. In general, when they're negotiating, they think they could just squeeze us and we're going to say yes because we're desperate. None of that is true. This was a supply contract. So my client was supplying certain products to a large company, multinational, and then their products could be purchased by almost anybody because they're in every state. And they had very strict guidelines on timing and labeling, and everything was from a place of punishment, right? If you fail to do this, you pay X. If you fail to do this, you pay Y. If you're late, you pay Z. And so whatever money you were going to get from the sale was shrinking precipitously. And I understand why the big company did that. I mean, they need to protect their margins, but my clients have margins, and my clients' margins are no less important. I mean, remember, everybody's dollar is worth 100 pennies. Your dollar as a small company is not worth less than 100 pennies. And the large company wants 100 pennies. They don't want less. So you are of equal value to them. That's a very important thing to remember. So what I was able to do for this particular company was to get them to give us a period of time for us to get used to how they do work, so we can do work their way. We can give them exactly what it is that they want, which of course is what they're looking for. And so they were able to give us an entire year to get used to the way that they do things, so we can then be 100% compliant and not have any fees assessed against us. And we did that by giving them an extra year on the back end of the agreement. So, okay, you have a minimum of 3 years. We're going to give you 4 years, but our first year is a getting to know you phase. So no assessments of any kind and open communication. Why, what went wrong here? How can we fix the process? And they went for it. And my clients didn't lose anything. In fact, they gained because they didn't get an assessment for an entire year.
Wow, that's incredible. That's incredible. So it's really, utilizing that power of knowledge in order to elevate entrepreneurs so they don't feel like, okay, well, I'm just a small business. No, you still have rights, you still have the power, and still have the ability to act like as if you are a big company. That's amazing. That's amazing, Rania. So that is definitely a good example of why have you or a lawyer on part of that trusted advisor group in order for people to thrive and succeed. Now, do you also help people with transition? Because that's one of the things owners like as well. I mean, they want to have their company so they can eventually sell it, or they can extract themselves from the business. They can have the peace of mind that if they're not there, the company still exists and continues to grow and scale. How do you work with entrepreneurs in that arena?
I think that arena is very similar to the fundraising arena, because in both instances, you're raising money. One is you're raising money so you can leave. One is you're raising money so you can continue. And, there's something, I'm sure you're familiar with it, Addie, with the work that you do, it's called due diligence, right? So the purchaser or the fundraiser or the funder, they want to give you a very scrutinous financial checkup. And part of the financial checkup relates to systems, and it relates to legal compliance, and it relates to those laws that you didn't have to implement, but you could have implemented. And why did you or did you not, right? So, for example, how are you paying your employees? Of course, most people, I would say almost everyone, understands there's something called minimum wage. They understand some people get overtime for, 40 hours or more in a week, more than 40 hours in a week, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, do you have a bonus structure? Why did you create this bonus structure? And then who's getting paid from this bonus? So is the way that you implement your neutral rules causing some kind of discrimination? Unwittingly, you may not even realize, but sometimes, that does happen. So they're looking at every document you have. Some entrepreneurs may not have those documents, so that's an issue. Then they're looking at, how are you adhering to the policies that you created yourself? And are you leaving certain segments of the population behind? Again, unwittingly. And all of these things affect your price. So even if you have a great business and good margins, if most of your employees are unhappy and you have a revolving door, that signals something to the buyer, and you're likely going to get less for your business. So it's never too early to work with an attorney to make sure that what you're doing is working, and it's working properly. You're not leaving out a category of individual. And then putting, processes into place with someone like yourself is very important. And we work with a lot of individuals like yourself, because every system affects people or the product or the sale, and what we do affects those as well: people, products, and sales. So
right, and that's the importance of having
yes,
trusted advisors that can work together in collaboration, like a lawyer, a systems person, a CFO, a
yes.
CPA, a financial advisor, like all working together for the best outcome for the entrepreneur.
That is so true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Rania, you are like a wealth of information. It's very obvious that it's amazing to have somebody like you on speed dial that you can actually contact at any time with any questions. So I think this package that you created for your clients is actually brilliant, because they can really utilize you, and you are invested in their growth, which is very, very important. Which states, just out of curiosity, which states are you licensed in?
New York, New Jersey, and Texas. However, some of what we do is federal, and it's not bound to any geography. So, Fair Labor Standards Act, Americans with Disabilities Act, intellectual property, a lot of it is federal. And so I wouldn't let geography hinder you from calling, because if we can't do it, we'll just let you know.
Amazing. So that is actually really good to know. So now if you can share with our listeners, what's the best way to get a hold of you if they want to talk to you?
If you want to talk to me, just pick up the phone and give us a call at 212-664-1600. If you prefer email, you can reach me at a very hard email to spell, but it's rsedhom@bespokelawfirm.com. So it's R for Rania, Sedhom's my last name, and then bespoke law firm, all one word.com.
Awesome. And of course, we're going to include it in the show notes. So we will be able to have it there. So not a problem. So, in closing, I actually would like to give a shout out to Dara Fitzpatrick, who actually introduced me to George Jensen, who introduced me to you. So definitely a big shout out to both George and Dara for this amazing connection. This is all about this, like knowing people and that introduce you to great people. And Rania, thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast and sharing all your knowledge. And I definitely encourage our listeners to reach out and get connected, connect with Rania on LinkedIn. She's definitely very active and she's done great interviews, articles. You should just go on LinkedIn and check it out and reach out to her. Email her with any questions and see if it works for you. All right.
Yes, we're happy to give all of your listeners a 30-minute free consultation. So you literally have nothing to lose.
Wow. Did you hear that? Okay. So any questions that you have right now, call Rania and schedule that 30-minute free consultation. Amazing. Thank you so much, Rania.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.